Hello, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, and Disembodied Beard, John, as well as errant appearances by Princess Kiki, my puppy, who is currently, as usual, cashed out in the hallway. Prednisone. Oh no, Inara. Oh no. Hey, Dren, thanks for the Prime sub. Nice to meet you. I'm Anne, as I just introduced myself. That's pretty redundant of me, I know. But yeah, so hi. Dayquil. Jeez, you guys. Oh noes. It's that day, is it? I actually feel a bit better today than I did yesterday. So here is our Ed. We're working on Ed today. I was just thinking that I want to take this red up to more of an orange. And I also want to block in skin tones today. Yeah, I get it, Inara. There are a lot of people. I know I've got a couple other friends who are totally having a week or a month. So yeah, it's totally. Yeah, this is a good red. I mean, it looks cooler in on the camera than it does in person. Valandar, my gamma is really off either on my system or my camera, but it's definitely showing the reds as more violet than they are. Oh, Chibi. Yay. I was just saying to Inara that I had other friends who are also having kind of a rough time lately. Well, hello. This red is my camera is making it look much colder and brighter than it is. My gamma, I think, is really off with this camera. But yeah, it is much, it's not quite. We started with Dragon Red. I think we brought it up with Fire. But yeah. Oh no, Inara, that's so rough. Like, yeah, I feel that. Because that was when Ed went. Like, here was our tribute mini. That was me, right? Except not 24 years, just like 20. Except still. And it's not fair, right? Like, that was my first thought, is that it's not fair. Like, because Ed was one of those pillars of my world. He was just going to be around, right? Forever. No. So I feel it. Finger hearts for you. I hope you make it through okay. Month plus oof, yeah, for sure. Hey, yeah. All right, well, let's mix the skin tone. I was just thinking, the problem with these super saturated colors is that I really can't make Ed deathly pale. I have to make him with a more vibrant skin tone, because if I try to do something too gray, it's going to look totally wrong with these colors, unless I go actually gray, and I don't really want to do that. I think I'm going to make him a very vital and alive necromancer. He is sucking the life out of everyone else. I mean, there's really no reason necromancers have to look half dead. They should be kind of rosy and, all pink and stuff, because, like, they're sucking the life energy out of everyone else, right? Everybody around them should look like they're undead. Oh my god, Inara. Off. I can't even. They better give you a bionic foot. That's all I'm saying. My aunt had that happen, actually. So, again, all the cares. I know that it can't make as much a difference as it should to say, but that's a super rough one. Hey, until D&D healing was necromantic magic. Well, yeah. Oh, man. The best thing I can say, Inara, is when you're in that situation, the only thing you can use necromancer. The only thing you can do is try to do something that makes you a little bit, like, that makes you happy. Like, let yourself do things that won't hurt you, obviously. Sometimes, like, eating the entire bag of Reese's peanut butter cups, that's going to hurt you. Don't do that. But try to find something that makes you happy and just do it. Just do it. Just sink yourself in there so that you can get that weight a little bit off of your soul, so that you can, like, flip the narrative in your head, right? So that you can, like, look at the positive things that you still have. It's hard. It's really hard. I went through months of depression when I was having my surgeries, so I get it. But in the end, I tried to focus on the positive things. So it is a rough trail, though. It's a rough trail. I get it. Oh yeah, antibiotic infusions. Fingers crossed. Fingers double crossed. If we had more than one tail in this household, I'd cross those. I mean, it makes sense in a way. Several indoor balls? Sure, have 5. Chibi. Oh man. Uh-oh. Eyeballs, tears, and now mascara will run. No, mascara, no. Must not. Oh, and take your allergy pill, Quinny. My nose has been going today. Okay, good deal. Well, then I'll give Ed a nice vibrant skin tone. I'll use my favorite combo. My new favorite combo. Oh, except that my magenta's in the other room, so we're stuck with, I thought I had my magenta in this room again. Nope, apparently not. Apparently maybe we should try violet red. I don't think it's going to be quite the same, but let's try it. So, my favorite way to mix skin tones these days, and I really should do a PDF on this, is to mix raw sienna, which is essentially rich leather, with magenta. I don't have my magenta today. And then you add white, obviously. And maybe you mute it a little bit if you want to. But I don't have magenta today. I do have violet red and runic glow. Runic glow is magenta plus white, so this should actually make a pretty good skin tone. But I'm kind of tempted to try violet red. So let's do it. Yeah, it's really off. Yeah, my gamma is really off. And I'm not sure how to fix it. I'll have to do some things. Just still can't remember without me. We're bound together for eternity, Quindy. Oh dear. Oh, sure, crows. Yeah. It's everybody's having a rough one. This morning, I had a come to Jesus meeting with myself. Not a really come to Jesus meeting because with me, I'm more Unitarian. but the equivalent, I guess, it would be a come to universe meeting then, right? For me. But but yeah. So I've been frustrated and struggling all month, ever since we got back from Hawaii, and it kind of started before that, and I was trying to kind of figure out in the morning I feel really good, like my perspective is all fresh and my brain is all fresh, so when I'm going to do some why is Anne screwed up work, mornings are kind of the best time to do it. Yeah, me meet reality, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And yeah, for sure, Turgent. And some people just heal slower, and some people heal faster. I mean, there are a couple of things you can do. Like, my doctor told me the fact that I walk every day, or exercise every day actually helps healing, but not for everybody. So, and some people just are going to take a little longer. So be patient, and all the good thoughts for you. But yeah, my come to Jesus meeting was about my prioritization of my work schedule, which for some people might seem, well, that's not really earth shaking, except that my work is my work is Anne, mostly because I'm self-employed, right? So I'm actually doing the things that I wanted to do all along. My work is also my dreams, right? That's the thing. So coming to a conclusion about my work schedule is actually more world shaking than it seems for most people. But no, because the problem is, I've always wanted to be a writer, and painting was always second. From the time I was a small child, the moment I realized, at age 6 or 7, that people actually wrote books, I wanted to do that. And art was something I fell back on because it's something that I've always done and always enjoyed and always been able to do. But it wasn't the dream, right? It wasn't the dream. Even though, after I tried my best to freelance the first time and I failed horribly, well, I didn't fail horribly, but I did fail. And I realized it's harder than it looks. I always wanted to give myself another shot at freelancing. So freelancing of any sort became kind of a secondary dream. But what I've come to realize is that since I finally published my books, my subconscious brain, my soul of Anne got so excited. Oh my God, I'm finally doing it, right? But except that it doesn't work that way, right? Like my books make a tiny, tiny little bit of money. And I am a freelancer. I am an entrepreneur. All my money comes from my dreams at this point. And that dream is a tiny little bit of money. And the Patreon and Twitch are my main money, right? And this stream is a significant portion, but this stream is non-negotiable because I love you all. But yeah, so I essentially had to go, well, okay, the problem is that I'm putting a huge weight on myself to write all these words a day in the middle of revamping like my whole vision for where I want my Patreon and my painting career to go in the next 2 or 3 years. Because painting book, because I want to do the dragon like class, there's so much stuff, right? I want to up my YouTube, and I'm excited about those things. Like I'm really honestly excited about those things, and thus the problem. Because I cannot do, I hit the wall and I'm like, I cannot do all the things. Not without like a huge amount of stress. And it's just not doable. Like it's just not doable. And the problem is that I was giving the writing in my brain, the back of my head, I was giving the writing equal weight with the Patreon and the painting in general. And it's of equal importance, but it's not of equal priority. So essentially I wrote, you guys will be getting my newsletter today, those who are subscribed to my writer newsletter. But it's essentially kind of my realization that like, you know what? Progress is progress. And if I only do 500 words a day on the new book, that's okay. It's not going to end the world if I don't win Nano this year. Like I was putting NaNoWriMo was just putting a huge amount of pressure on me. And it really, I was like, well, maybe I just need to step back from all these things for the Patreon. And then I was like, what are you doing? This is your income. This is your main income. And I feel like with the YouTube, I'm finally starting to grow the Patreon again. Which it's stalled out for a long time. My Patreon stalled out for a very long time. So I was kind of like getting like, about it, like feeling challenged, feeling like I didn't know where to go. But the fundamentals of mini painting has revitalized my Patreon because YouTube converts to Patreon pretty well. So essentially I had to like allow myself to be okay with small amounts of progress on North of the Wind. And the minute I took that pressure off, the minute I said, no, you can just do 500 words for me, by the way, is almost nothing. I can do, if I know the scene, I can do 500 words in 20 minutes. If I don't know the scene, it might take me 45. Like if I'm feeling my way through a scene. But it's less than an hour. It's definitely a time chunk that I can assign. And if I do 500 words in 20 minutes, then I can just write for another 20 minutes and do 1,000. But well, it's never wonky, Pendrake, but the problem is for me to do 5,000 wonky words, it's going to be a whole day. And I can't do that. I can't step away from the Patreon to do that. Not if I want to get all this other stuff in place, which I do. Understand though, Pendrake, though, there are no good words. There are no wonky words. There are just words. When you are in a rough draft, just words. There's nothing good, there's nothing bad, there's nothing ugly. You write the scene might get thrown out in your edits eventually, but you don't know that. So you just write the scene. Or the scene might turn out to be the best thing about that chapter or even the book. You have no idea. You have no idea when you're writing it, and you shouldn't. The way that people stall out when they're writing novels is that they start obsessing about individual words, individual scenes, whether this scene is good, whether this chapter is good, whether they're even writing a decent book, and then they stop. So the only way to go is forward, as Valamon says, and the only way to get a novel done is to write words, and not judge yourself. Judging yourself is the surest way to stop writing. Right, Agent Marvel, right. And that's the mindset and I've had this mindset before, but because Nano always, I've won Nano for the last 2 years, and so I've, it's like, ugh. It's like, it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And I do a lot of ideation. I mean, I do not write every month of the year. I'm a seasonal writer. I take the summer off because my brain needs time to refill with juice. I can't just keep going through. I'd burn out in no time. So yes, writers write, but they don't always write. It depends on what kind of writer you are. There are some people who do write every day and they never run out of juice, but I'm not one of those. So I think it's learning your creative process, right? And mini painting, maybe it's the same way. Maybe a lot of you guys paint in the winter, right? When the weather is crappy and you have lots of time indoors and it makes sense to like kind of sit in front of the TV, throw on your favorite show and paint, or stream whatever on your computer while you paint. And then the summer comes and you've got a lot more outdoor time and maybe you don't paint. Like maybe that's just it. And that's cool. It's okay. It's more than okay. It's great. Like you're refilling, right? You're doing different things. Our lives have variety. Even our professional lives have variety. So when I'm not actively writing, I'm planning. I'm plotting a new book. I'm plotting a new series, like I did this summer with Queenmaker. Right. And that's yep. And that's a valid process as well, Pendrake. Like there are great writers who do exactly that. They write in their heads. And they write in the scene in their heads and they replay it until it's the scene they want and then they put it on paper. And that's absolutely valid too. It's just your way. There is no bad way. You win at Nano. Nano is the point of Nano is to win, and that's why it's a motivator detergent. And that's why I use it. It's a motivator. Let's mix up paint. So the point of that is it's like telling yourself, I'm gonna get a mini done for ReaperCon, right? I'm going to get this ambitious project done for ReaperCon. Sure, is it a real goal? Are you going to die if you don't do it? No. But the point is to motivate yourself. So winning Nano involves doing 50,000 words in 1 month. So we're going to do 4 drops, by the way, of the rich leather, and then we're going to do 1 drop of violet red, and I'm going to take a look at what color I get and see if I'm going to go with it. So there is definitely winning Nano. You get a winner's certificate when you win. And that it always makes me feel really good to finish Nano and win it. But I've won about half of the times. But some of those times were, that red was powerful. See how that really, really kind of took it into a bronze, actually. That's a pretty good color for a reddish bronze. Let me add some white to that. Yeah, yes. And usually Sanderson is somebody who, if he's like a shark. He's the writer shark. If he stops writing, he dies. I'm convinced he made some, pact. But not everybody is Brandon Sanderson, and not everybody should be. And part of the challenge of becoming a creative professionally is figuring out what your process is and understanding there's nothing wrong with your process. And the number of people who get hung up on that is amazing. Like, oh my God, there must be something wrong with my process is like a common lament. What's wrong with my process? I can't do X, Y, or Z. And in reality, there's nothing wrong with your process. So there is a bit of blue in here, and I'm afraid the blue has muted it out too much, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to I guess I'll add more white, but I'm going to make a new well here. But yeah, Nano requires you to actually make a real daily commitment to writing, and it requires you to do it in the middle of your busy life. And this sometimes is honestly the best thing for me. I love doing it normally. I get a real rush of when you write like 1,700 words on your book a day, it feels like you're flying. Like the book just unravels in your mind and you're just going so fast and it's so great and you just see it like all come together in such a short space of time. You feel like you're a superhero. So it's not, don't think that Nano is like, oh, no. Nano is like is normally one of the best times of the year for me. But not this year, because this year I came on and took on other priorities. Flesh color. I'm experimenting with using violet red instead of magenta to mix my favorite skin tone. I think it's not going to be quite as... quite the way I want it, but so this is still way too red. That violet red, that tiny little drop of violet red totally destroyed everything. And it's not as pink as it looks on the camera again. I really have to figure out the gamma thing. But yeah, so normally Nano it feels like flying. It feels like you're invincible. It feels like it's the best feeling in the world because you just put your head down and you just do it. And you see progress every day, huge progress as you work your way through your book, because, 50,000 words is half of a book. A lot can happen in half of a book. It could be 2/3 of a book if it's a shorter, urban fantasy or whatever. That was one of my nano projects a few years ago, was kind of a paranormal romance / urban fantasy. All right, so let's start with this and then go up from there. Yeah, it is suntanned. Yeah, I think it'll work just fine. Oh, this is a Series 7. The Series 7.0. All right, we'll do this. I'm like, wait, this is not a Da Vinci Maestro. So we'll try this, and we do need it to be saturated. It is pretty saturated, so we're going to use it. And we'll use this as base color. I like my base colors to be darker anyway for skin. Oh, and I'm way out of thing, and I'm way out of focus. Lol, Zachariah. But yeah, so normally Nano is like one of the peaks of my year. I look forward to it. There are some years I'm just so excited I can hardly hold still. Now we may leave Ed's eyes in shadow. He may be the shadowy necromancer. We'll see. We'll leave the hair on that side. There's no ear on that side. I do need to get to the neck. But yeah, so essentially I had to I had to sit down with myself and tell myself, no, it's okay if you only get 500 words a day. You're not going to win Nano this year, and that's okay. But what you need to do, what you will be happy doing, is like at least writing every day. So yeah, North of the Wind may take a little longer, but you know what? That's not huge either. Like my publishing schedule that I wanted every 6 months is really arbitrary, right? Like, it's going to get done when it gets done. Would I like to write faster? Yeah, I would. Is it probably in the cards for me this year, thanks to all the stuff that I really want to do for my Patreon and YouTube? No, probably not in the cards. But I also know, it's kind of comforting to know, actually, oops, I have to stick Ed on here. I took him off of this putty, and the putty isn't as sticky. And I didn't re-knead it before I put him on it. But the other thing I know is that I tend to go in cycles with this stuff too. So like I'll sit here and I'll faceplant into the Patreon for 4 months, and then suddenly I'll wake up one morning and I'll be like, I want to write, and then I'll just like bust through some crap. So it is what it is. The other thing I had to acknowledge to myself is that I'm really feeling my way through North of the Wind. Like, East of the Sun and West of the Moon, I knew that story. Like, I had figured out that story for the most part. I knew where I was going. It was very simple to get there. This book, there's a lot that could happen in this book that might or might not happen. So maybe going slower is better. It gives me time to feel out my idea of scenes and things. Plus, I'm dealing with a whole new character, and I'm figuring him out. For me, happiness is not doing the things I want to do most. I think it's progress. It's seeing progress. Like, doing the thing is great, but actually being able to look back and see the progress, that's the biggest thing for me. I love it. Makes me happy. Ah, interesting, Thormel. Thormel, you are a druid. We need the Thormel druid miniature now. Yes, I love that Douglas Adams quotes. Yep, that's great. Random username. Now, a deadline is that's why NaNoWriMo works, right? Is that it does give you a firm deadline. It essentially inspires you to achieve a very ambitious goal that you otherwise may not ever have attempted or completed. So I do like deadlines, but I have had to make myself get a little bit more lenient with myself, right? Because when it's a self-imposed deadline, I still hold myself to it, but I can also get really hard on myself if I don't make it. So we got a nice solid coat of skin tone, and it's working. I mean, it's a bit rosy, so we're gonna have to bring it up more golden to bring it away from the red, which is fine. I was gonna do that anyway. So, and the way we'll do that is just by mixing in more white and rich leather. Because rich leather, if you recall, although it looks like a brown, when you add white to it, is very golden. So that's what makes it a great ground color for skin. Oh, that's good. Yay, keep up the good work is a good letter to have to write. All right, I think that's all of our skin, hands and head, and I still feel like I'm missing a little bit of the neck there, so I want to get down there. Kind of flood the area. I can always touch up the cloth here, so because once I get this neck painted, I'm probably not going to go in. It'll need a tiny highlight, but not a lot. And I think probably Ed's best hair color is going to be like shield brown, maybe with a little bit of russet. Yep. With me, it's more getting to know my characters. Like, it was funny to me because I was sitting there, and it takes me a long time to write the start of a book, as I talk about in my newsletter, but when I started to write Sola's first chapter as opposed to Tor's, suddenly, boom, it was all there. And you know what? That's because I took a long time figuring out her character, and now I know her. I know her so well that it was effortless. So a lot of it is just I need to learn who Tor is and how he's going to react to stuff and what his best path is. Because I have a general idea and I know where he ends up, but do I know exactly how he's going to get there? No. That's the joy of being a discovery writer. That sometimes that my characters like totally surprise me in great ways. They never surprise me in bad ways. Like, no matter what, my characters are always going to act true to self once I figure out who they are. But sometimes it takes me a while. Sola was actually the character I took the longest to figure out in East of the Sun and West of the Moon. Like, her motivation. Like, what she really wanted. I think I'll go down to russet a little bit more. There. Russet brown also has a lot of yellow in it, so as we add this to the shield brown, what we're doing is we're intensifying. Shield brown is actually a pretty grayed out color, but we're intensifying the shadows a little bit. So it's a richer brown color for Ed's hair. And it's also more golden, so it should work with the skin. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. As Ash and Sadis, I knew, like, they were like, boom, I knew them right away. But Sola took me forever. Probably because a lot of her arc was kind of mirroring the arc in the original fairy tale. So you're working with that character and characters in fairy tales are just really shells, right? They're not fleshed out. They're not real. So I had to really get down and get into her chapters and figure out, okay, who the heck are you and what do you really want in life? Because if I don't know that, I don't have a character. Oh yeah, that's the perfect Ed color, actually. That's good. Once I bring the skin up, it's going to work. Sakurai, you're funny. And once I realized what she wanted, it was like, duh, of course she wants that. But it took a long time. And for Tor, I think I know what he wants, but like there's another depth there that I'm not hitting yet with him. There's something there, there's a reason there, it's gonna come out as I write, and I just don't know it yet. And I'll have some epiphany, like months down the road or weeks down the road, that will tell me exactly who he is, really. Yeah, that's a good Ed hair color. Actually, that's perfect. All right, I'm going to mix the highlight to the skin because now the skin just being base coated is annoying me. So let's grab some of this color and make it more golden. So we've got a very pinky color that we started with, thanks to how much that violet red ran over our rich leather. And sometimes you get that. Sometimes with the reds, it's very high diffusion, which means it takes over the other color and just like slides the whole thing its way. All right, there's more yellow. That's more of a dark tanned skin color. Taking the pink down. I'm going to throw some more white in there because I need to see what it really looks like. But yeah, characters, just like real people, are collections of wants and needs. And as a writer, because I'm writing intuitively, I really do need a grasp of what those wants and needs are, right? The wants are usually pretty easy. Like that's usually part of the main plot, is what the character thinks they want. But what they really need is usually more complicated than that. All right, so that's much less pink coming across. It's showing up too red on the monitor, sorry. One second. All right. Cool. I just found a thing on how to calibrate color, gamma, and everything else in Windows 11. So I will pop that. I'll pop into that after the stream and work with it. All right. So this is quite a bit lighter than our original color too, which we need for a highlight. I may have thinned it a little much. We'll find out. Alrighty. And we want to keep, yeah, that's actually not strong enough. Interesting. All right, let's try this again. I thought that would be different enough because we've got those two colors here and here, but this might not be as light as I want. And the problem with that, I mean, the good thing about that is that you can blend it, but the problem with that is that Ed's face is really small because Tom Meyer sculpt. So that means we need it to be a bit stronger. So I'm going to have to mix a little bit more paint, regular paint in. Yeah, I'm not sure. I was going to consider painting it like energy instead of dirt. All right, that's better. Just trying to get this a little bit lighter without losing the golden part of it. Pardon me while I do that. That's the thing when you like hand mix a skin tone, is you have to futz with it. All right, let's try that. Remixed it with a bit more paint and less water. I was gonna, I don't know. Smoke didn't make sense to me with skeleton raising. I think it's just that, like, with metal, you don't do big, huge spell effects because it just adds to the cost. So I thought about, like, extending it. I thought about just, I don't know. I think the invoice that he's chasing down bad vendors with is probably the right answer. Trash, I think you're absolutely correct, 100%. Oh, hey, Trash, I actually created a Zazzle store the other day, so my next step is to get the Blorf up on stuff. So thank you again for making that for me. Yeah, it could be dirty socks. Yeah, that's okay. It could be dirty socks. Yeah, it could be. It could be. I don't know. We'll paint it as something. I haven't decided yet. No biggie, Trash. I am inundated in so much project, so little time. There we go. Now I can see the highlight. See? All right. So I needed my paint to be a little, because the thing is that if I was just going to do a blended forehead, the previous color would have been fine. But I want to suggest lines, right? Lines on the forehead, because Tom Meyer has them very faintly suggested. So to do that, I need to have thicker paint because I'm essentially doing texture. Skeletons with dirty socks. Oh yeah, no biggie, Trash, no biggie. It's cool. I was just happy they made me the Blorf. And now I'm gotta figure out how to. The Zazzle store is going to be kind of it's going to have to be probably a weekend project because it's not. There's a lot of stuff I want to do for the actual Patreon and YouTube these couple of months. Like, I'm planning to shoot another fundamentals video today. It'll be the one on using green stuff to correct a mold line. I'll be happy if I can do 2 to 4 new videos for YouTube a month, and we'll see if that's too ambitious for me. All right, I need to add a little water to that. 1 second. I'm doing, so essentially I'm working more skin tones. So this was the one I got to work decently, and now this is the next one up. I don't want to add too much water, although I did just add a lot of white, so maybe I will add just 1 drop. But yeah, so I'll be doing, for that green stuff video, I'll be using the Animal Adventures Baby Kraken. Because he has a really nasty mold line right along the front of his little splooshing water and on his little tentacle. And those are both awkward, smooth places, so they're actually really good to use green stuff for as far as correcting them. Yeah, maybe they're dirty socks. I don't know. Maybe it's just a Bon Voyage rag, right? Maybe it's just a go little skeletons. It's a hanky. It's a hanky. Now my white is much stronger. Doing little details like wrinkles on the top of a Tom Meyer sculpt is really obnoxious because Tom Meyer sculpts are very, very tiny. It's very difficult. Like, the eyes are almost impossible. They pretty much are impossible on this model. So we'll be experimenting different ways, exploring different ways to deal with that. I thought it was just energy because it's like tendrils coming out of his hand. So I thought it was just the summoning magic. And it just wasn't, like I said, wasn't very long because in metal, you don't want to like be charging people $3 more for essentially a squiggly mass of metal. Get the top of the cheekbones there. Gonna get the bridge of the nose. Now, on a tiny face like this, where everything is very compact and you have facial hair, you are probably not going to have very many stages of highlight. You're probably going to have your shadow and maybe a mid and then a highlight. Yeah, I'm going to keep the eyes in shadow probably, Twisted Oma. Yeah, for sure, Inara. That's why, I mean, going with energy is always a good answer because you can paint it any color you need. I did get online and do a Reaper order last night because I wanted that new Dragonkin to paint on stream from Christine. And I also ordered a couple of Christmas minis to paint for you guys. And I ordered the bases we need to base Ed. So now we've got like very, very, very large lines there. I can try to shrink them down a little bit, but it's such a small face. Baby steps, exactly. Sometimes, like the smallest, you just lower the bar until it's easy to step over, Turgeon. So then the next thing to do would be to like open the box and kind of look at them and leave the box open, right? And then the next thing would be like to take a piece out. Decide what piece you want to maybe start with and then dig for that piece and just take it out and put it on your bench. And then clean the mold lines off of it. You know, it's just little steps. And people feel like that's just silly. But it's not. It goes back to that whole progress is progress. And the other option is it just sits in the box, right? And you never get to have fun with it. And that's certainly not the optimal, part. Certainly not optimal. But yeah, when I'm really, really, really stressed out by a model, I break it down into like one piece on the bench at a time. And then I just concentrate on that one piece and I try to reach for enjoyment of that one piece. So I think you're doing great. Yep. Just take it slow, and if it gets really scary, take a break, but let yourself come back to it and try to find the joy in it. Like, it's very easy to get all caught up in our own expectations, or those of our significant other, or those of our, community or whatever. I'm going to get a little bit more violet red to do his lips, just to make them a little rosier. And I'm going to mix that in with my original skin color with some white. So this is how I mix skin tones for lips anyways. I take whatever my skin color base is and I add a little bit of red and I add a little bit of white to create a fleshy pink, which is what you want for lips. And with guys especially, you want to tone down that pink color. It still needs to be there, but you never want it to be garish. So you want it to be close to your skin tone. That's pretty good. It's actually more orangey in person. But yeah, so baby Kraken video today, and then working on my $5 PDF today, so I'm going to be outlining that because that's going to take some painting. My $5 color PDF is actually on, I'm going to be taking a picture from Hawaii, an outdoor photograph, and I'm going to be using it to find a color scheme for the miniature. I'm going to be using, I have so many great color schemes, like I have so many good pictures. This is a hard one, but I think the one I wanted to use was this one because we've got green, a dark brown, We've got a blue-gray, like a grayish blue, a bright orange, a bright yellow. So we've got a lot of greens, some natural colors, and that blue and stuff. So I wanted to use like kind of this section and paint a mini using these colors, and show how I would go about using that to create a color scheme for a model. But I love these koi. This was at the Byodo-in temple. I also thought about using like the actual temple itself as a color scheme. But I think I want the koi pond. But yeah, whenever I see another one that would make an interesting color scheme is my black swan photo. So with this, you'd be doing a black with an olive green and a brilliant orange red. You've got some browns and a little bit of yellow in there. And a brighter green. So that would also be an interesting color scheme to try to work with. And of course, then you've got your classic, you know, taking something like this and turning it into a color scheme where you're working with blue grays, light blues, the orange, and the muted browns here, and maybe some silver gray and black, right? So yeah, it's definitely a color thing, Richard, so I figured it fit in the color workshop thingamahoosit. But sunsets and sunrises can be some of the best, some really good color schemes. Kind of predictable in ways, but also just pretty cool. All right, let's see here. I think that's about it. Yeah. And then the second one I'll be doing, I think that's for the $10 tier, is actually adapting a design from like old ancient artwork to a miniature freehand. So I'm working a lot. I'm doing a lot of Hawaii stuff this month. Now, as we bring up the highlights on the skin here, you can see we lose saturation, and that's because when you add your white, you really do make the skin tone less intense, but it's a neutral, so it should be okay. But yeah, I think I'm going to be using one of Christine's miniatures for the koi pond color experiment. I might have to do it in 2 PDFs because there could be a lot to unpack. I won't know until I start writing it. Usually when I start writing something like that, I'll be like, oh, this will be easy. And then I'm like, oh, this really needs to be 2. So maybe the first one will be just figuring out which colors to use. And then the second one will be actually figuring out like how much area you want each of these colors to take up on the figure. Because I've got a lot of bright colors in there, right? Saturated greens, oranges, yellows, and then I've got the blue-gray and the dark brown for neutrals. So, but yeah, so that'll be $5 tier Patreon coming up this month. I'll be spending a lot of time outlining that today. And then the last thing I want to get done today is I want to actually do a little more writing on the intro for the book, the mini painting book. There we go. So a little bit more of a pink tone for the lips. Nothing too pink, but just a little bit, and then a little bit of a highlight. You're a whole project kind of person. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and there's a good thing about that, Turgeon, because that means that when you do look at a project, like you see the whole thing, right? Which is actually a superpower. It lets you, what it's going to let you do is maybe plan your colors or plan your plan of attack a little bit better, because you can see, you look at the whole thing like it's organic. Your model will probably end up looking a lot more like it all belongs together than somebody who just like tends to hyper-focus on details. Like me, I can tend to hyper-focus on details, and sometimes that means my models in a diorama mean that I have to take a little bit of extra time to make sure they look like they belong together. So we have a Kiki clock. It's true. It's only 10:30. So she's wishful thinking, wishful dog thinking at this point. So the skin tones on Ed are looking pretty good. I think I got the nostril on that side. I did not on this side. I need to do a little more. But this side of the face being in shadow is actually fine because you can see the effect of the black primer. Remember I zenithed? This was black primer. This is only a base coat here. So we can see that that side of his face should be in shadow, and it looks right for it to be in shadow. So I'll probably darken down some of the hair here as well as I move forward to just reinforce that, the lighting. Because some of this hair was also really dark. And you can kind of see that. So I don't want to add a bunch of highlight here on that side. I do want to get the side of that side of the nose a little bit though. So when you've got a nose, if you can hit the nostril as well as the bridge of it, that's a good thing. And that'll just bring the nose out a little bit so that we can see it. So that's bringing the face out actually really nicely. That's good. That's a good face. All right, especially for a Tom Meyer face. But yeah, you can see how tiny the eyes are on this. And what I will likely do, if you ever, David taught me this trick, but if you ever are watching a TV show and you've got characters who are standing a bit off in the background and you freeze frame it and you look at the characters, look at their faces, you'll see that the eyes just really are dark or maybe with a hint of a light gray. Like that's how our whites of our eyes are going to show up at that time. So for this, that's what I'm going to do. And actually, let's just go ahead and do it since I've talked about it. I'm going to grab my walnut brown, make sure that I've done my usual thing of lining the eyes with the dark brown. But then I'm going to use a pale gray to like suggest the glint of whites there, but I'm not going to bother with pupils. I'm not going to bother. You don't have to. You don't see that stuff when people are standing from a distance. The only thing you might see is like the difference between like the flash of the whites, and then wherever the whites are not are probably where the pupils are, right? So we'll see if we can actually get enough color in here to get that effect. I need my walnut. My walnut is very persnickety today. It's running out in this bottle, so it's fighting me. It doesn't want to come out. But I do want to make sure I've got all that all in skin tone. I do have, I think, a layer of skin tone on all that, so I'm going to make sure of that. There. All right, so there we go. Yeah, and I don't because I'm used to painting eyes, but Tom Meyer sculpts, sometimes you just can't because they're so small. And it's best just to learn, you know, a trick to kind of... The other thing you could do is take a really pale gray and just put kind of a spot highlight somewhere in the eye to suggest the wetness of the eye. So let's see if I've thinned this enough to get a nice nice fill on this. And then we'll continue with our skin tones. I feel like I need optimizers sometimes to paint Tom Meyer eyeballs. So I'm just going in there with walnut to darken that down. You can see the dark eye right there. On the other side, I'm probably going to have to turn the model upside down to have a good vantage on it. I'll have to come at it from the top. All right. Dark. See, I think that's good because actually the eyes are big enough now that I can paint them. Richard. Because I like to paint eyes, but yeah, when it gets down to this stuff, it's just really hard for people. So I'm going to take pure white. Nothing so modern, Pendrake. It's not going to be a real diorama. It's just going to be like I needed a bigger base to put him on, so I'm going to have to landscape that a little bit. All right, let's get this. So I've got some pure white I mixed with my walnut to make a light gray. I need to put some white in that, or some water in that. And I'm going to try to just get a little bit of light. That's too dry. All right, and I need the underbrow of that to be a little darker. 1 second. The one eye I'm happy with because I've got that little suggestion of color. The other eye is harder. Hold on. I feel like it's kind of there, but I need it a little bit better than that. Oh, nice, Thermal. Yeah. Yeah, I need an optimizer to really do these eyes. I really should get David's optimizer. My eyes were so good for so long that I didn't really need an optimizer, but now for the close-in stuff. Yeah, I'm still having trouble. I'm still struggling with that. I'm going to grab... I feel like I need a little bit more pop of white. And I might have to mix this in a separate well because I need it to be a certain consistency in order to show. This happens with me a lot. I'll grab one eye and it'll be perfect. And then the next eye will be like, nope. So just to give you an idea of the color, it's just a very pale gray made by mixing a little bit of walnut. It's a gray brown made with a little bit of walnut inside of a bunch of pure white. I want a little bit more white in it. Yeah, I thought about putting more skeletons around him or something, but I really should use another one of those skeleton cats from Dark Sword because of Goose. Yeah. David's like that. His he takes off his glasses to paint because his nearsighted vision is so good. My regular vision is better than 20/20. My close-in vision is what's gone to pop, which of course is, standard, I think. All right. I've got maybe the right consistency. The thing is that to get a tiny dot in this tiny eye, I need exactly the right paint consistency. I really can't half-ass it. So nice, Carly. Yeah, Dark Swords sells a pack of skeletal kitties. I used one for the Necromancer, remember? That I still have like 2 or 3 left. All right, I'm going to make sure the brow is nicely darkened in. And then we're going to try this one more time. Yeah, Reaper used to have a skull pack. I don't know if we still do. That reflection is just a little bit too far. Although it does work. I'm going to try it again one more time. One more. So you can see just that little hint of eyes in there. I still feel like the other one isn't as strong, but I think that's partially sculpt. So that eye's just a little narrower than the other, and it's a little deeper set. So, but there we go. So that gives us enough. Just that little suggestion gives us just enough life in the eyes. There's no way you're going to get pupils in there. Yeah, I still feel like that other side is like... He looks kind of like Daniel Craig, to be honest. Yeah, it used to be a very long time ago, Clavicus. But Skulls of 8 Races. There we go. There's the thingy. So Reaper does sell skulls, Anara says. 2611. Item number. The problem with the skulls was in paint bottles was that it started to, essentially we were just hemorrhaging money to put something into a bottle for free, because it takes it's such a pain in the butt to do those skulls, to get them to cast, that we were essentially, like, it was taking one caster an entire day to keep up with paint department production, so we were essentially throwing away that person's salary per year for a free add-on to a product. Or we would have had to raise the price of the paint just because of the skull agitator, which did not make sense. All right. I'm going to mix a little bit of my walnut with my brown mix here to get a little bit of eyebrows on Ed here. So we've got brows, and I'm going to use that same color to come in here and line between the hair and the face, because we do need some lining there. Yeah, pewter sprue, yep. Yeah, the bead string, the volcanic glass beads, or hematite. Both are unreactive. So just a little bit of line around the face. You can see how that makes the hair, separates the hair from the face. We'll also do it around the ear. Yeah, I mean, the human skulls, we just want that because it's instantly identifiable, right? But yeah, in a world of multiple races, it makes sense that they'd use whatever. I actually still have a box of Games Workshop skeleton warriors from long ago, just for the skulls, practically. Skulls, and sometimes I'd like to use the rib cages. Alright, so just like lining around there to bring the hair out of the skin. I'll also line around the beard. But the heads are all separate on those old Games Workshop skeletons, so I pretty much just have to clip a skull off of a sprue. Right. Yeah, that's what I've got, one of those boxes in our... I don't use it that much, though. There aren't many models I paint nowadays that I think need skulls, although this is one of them. So So maybe I'll dig out the old Skelly box. So a very fine line to separate the beard from the face. You can use lining to suggest some strands sometimes around the hair, though that second one I don't like, so I'll erase it. Try to scrub it off. Yeah. And when I can't, I'll just paint over it. There. Yeah, 3D printer would be another way to get a bunch of skulls really easily and really cheaply. And pretty fast because they're small. Terrain elements in general are great for 3D printers are great for that. David and I have started a little archive of things can be used for basing. Yeah. Yeah, lots of skulls. Because GW puts skulls on everything. It's Skull Factor. You can usually tell how evil a Games Workshop model is by its skull factor, but these days that's not even true. Everybody's gone ambiguous. Evil ambiguous. Even the Sisters of Battle have. So that line went too heavy, but that's fine. I can go grab my original kind of dark skin tone and minimize that line by painting next to it. Go. Now we will get to hands. I need the line. So I've got my walnut. Heh. The problem with good and evil in Warhammer 40k is just that everybody's evil except for the Tau. Or everybody's either part of a death cult or outright evil, or trying to eat the universe. It's probably not benevolent. Just saying, Tyranids. Just saying. And I forgot that I need to get this sleeve. I'm gonna line in here real quick because this sleeve needs to be whatever color I make this sleeve. Should be either black or bone. Probably bone. But we'll see. I might need to make it black so as not to attract the eye too much from the face. Technically, high elves also have feathers. Although, now they're different. Now they're different models. But they had hats with feathers. They're not called high elves anymore. no, Ed is falling off. I knew this was going to happen. This is why I needed to take this off and re-knead it. It's just not goopy enough. It's just like silly putty. It gets stiff over time. You have to knead it up to make it stick. Oh, Papa. Necrons are totally evil, Papa. You're totally evil. Yes. Hello. Yes, they're just Borg, Papa. They're just misunderstood. They're just trying to assimilate everybody. Yeah, that's not evil, is it, Papa? Oh. Yep, it's true. The Tau are pretty much not evil. Like, I think they made the Tau just because, like, people were complaining that everyone was evil. Kiki, you want to come up? Come on, come up. Come up, Bubba. Come up, say hi. Oh, come on, you lazy, lazy dog. You're so lazy. Why do you not want to come up and see the stream? Why do you not want to see the stream? Is there too much stuff around me? Is it this, like, barricade back here? She's all suspicious about everything that moves. Yeah, everything that moves when you're not ready for it to move, huh? Huh, you big face? Yeah, you're not going to come and see people? You just want pettins? Well, I only have about 20 minutes left, Bubba, so I'm going to have to leave you. I'm going to have to leave you unless you come up and say hi. You going to come up and say hi? No, don't want to come up and say hi, huh? All right. Mama's got to work then. Work, work. Work, work, Bubba. Are you just nervous about this? Is the evil box? The evil box is here. And it might fall over. And you're very scared of it. I know. Oh, I'm sure they did. Random username. I mean, that's GW, right? The Grim Dark. The Grim Dark is here. So grim, so dark, Papa. So grim, such dark. I get tired of it. But Tau, I think, are more true neutral than evil. There we go. So now it's stick. Now it's much stickier. Okay, we got those fingers lined, so now we can highlight. I'm a Tyranid person now. Back to Tyranids anyway, so I've embraced my inner annihilator. Right, right, Kiki? Yeah. It's almost time. It's almost time, Papa. Just settle for another 15 or 20. She's like, but walking. We're supposed to get rain today, but I don't think it stayed. So a little bit of highlighting on top of the hand and on the fingers. My paint needs a little more water. Kiki, no. Settle down now. You hear me. They're just mind controlling him, Richard. There's nothing to do about it. The illithids have gotten Crowley. Or maybe that was his children sucking out his brain cells and I'm just confused. Recondition. Oh, if you're like, if it's drying uneven, there's a certain point that you can bring them back, but when you've gone beyond that point, Quantum, you're done. So it sounds like, well, okay, if it's frosty, then I'll tell you what it probably is. It's probably that the paint, as you used it over the years, you were shaking it, but you weren't shaking it enough. and the matting agent does settle out over time. So essentially, once you passed a certain point where the ratio of the matting agent was too high for the paint, you get frosting. So that could be what's happening. Because the fact that you say frosted, that's a red flag for me. And I've only ever seen that happen once otherwise, and it was actually with a bottle of matte of brush-on sealer, where the painter admitted that they really hadn't shaken it much when they used it before, and so essentially when they got down to like half a bottle, they had a much higher rate of a much higher ratio of the matting agent to the paint than you should have, and so it started to frost. I don't know about blotchiness. Filtering will not help it. And I would have to see what you mean by blotchiness. If you mean that the frosting is just splotchy, then I'd say the paint is done. In general, you only get a blotchy finish when the paint is fallen out of solution, which could also be a cause of frostiness for the same reasons. Essentially, your part of your paint has latexed and taken itself out of play, so that leaves more of a ratio of matting agent to the remaining product, which then becomes blotchy. So just from the potential, I would say it's time to kill that paint. So I do like to bring in a little detailing on the back of the hand here. I paint the entire, for the first highlight, I paint the entire upward facing surface lighter as well. But yeah, filtering it won't help because it won't filter out the matting agent. And you don't want it to filter out the matting agent. Yeah, if it's that old. I mean, our paint does have a lifespan, right? And I think you getting about 15 years out of that is pretty good. Heck, 10 or 12 years is pretty good. I'm going to take my lightest highlight color. Hello, Solian, however you say your name. We are doing some skin tones on our Pugh Tribute Reaper by Dark Sword. Although it's a Reaper model because Dark Sword gave it to Reaper because it was in tribute to their CEO, our CEO, who passed away. So I am doing some highlighting. Even though knuckles tend to be rosy, they can also get lighter. So here you can see that effect as I'm making a fist. So the bone comes right up against the skin, so I usually will highlight the knuckles as part of my final highlighting. 8 years is fine. Make sure you shake them now, though, Crowley, if you haven't been shaking them regularly. Because if you let them sit for another 5 years, they probably are not going to come back. They'll become plugs. It's dependent on using regular use. If you use them regularly, you probably could get 20 years out of them, but you would need to add water at some point. Alright, so I need to make the upper part of that hand lighter in general, because the light is going to be falling directly on it. There we go. It's better. Yeah. But yeah, 8 years is fine for MSP, but do shake them. And probably open them up and add a few drops of water in. I'd probably add about 20 drops. Because evaporation will have been happening. Yes, but that's lacquer. Good luck with those. If you want your shiny skeletons and your shiny goblins. Although maybe not. Are those? I mean, solvents are a whole different beast. Let's just face it, right there. Like, you can have tester solvent paints that are still good after all this time, 40 or 50 years old. But I at least don't find that particular finish or paint easy to work with. And so it's not really an option in my book. It's what you pay for acrylics and water-based. But if you are worried about paint losing its life before you use it all, then you should learn mixing, so that you only need a few colors and you're likely to use all of a bottle before you run out. Let's try and get those knuckles to show up. Yeah, ultra matte. Well, if you want to use solvents, use solvents. I don't like them. I don't like the fumes. I don't like the toxicity. I don't like the fact that they wreck my brushes and that I have to use turpentine or other mineral spirits. Yeah. Give me my water base. That's where I'm at. But, I mean, and then you have James Wapple, who does amazing work with oils and solvents. So, lots of painters who do really good work with solvents. Yeah, I just prefer not to use them at all. Like, I don't consider the lifespan a trade-off, really. But to each their own. To each their own. If you enjoy them, use them. Although it means that a lot of what I'm showing you on this show might not work. They are a different beast. You can do washes and glazes. Oil paints are great for glazing. I just, the thinning will be completely different. I'm going to put in a heavy shadow in here. But yeah, I gave oil paints a chance again recently. But yeah, I guess they're just not for me. I feel like I'm killing brain cells. The only advantage that I can see, other than blending, but honestly with oils, if you're not very good at wet blending, you can get yourself in more trouble than you get in, than you'd think. But yeah, other than the blending, it's really just the color saturation, and that is partially due to finish. And partially due to the solvent. And technically, you could glaze with oils. If you wanted really intense saturated colors, you could always glaze with oils over the top of your acrylic paint job. Then you'd need to add something to matte it down. With those lacquer ones that you're talking about, those would be different because they're already matte. But then if they're matte, if they're dead matte, then you're already losing some of your color intensity. That's just something that happens. The finish actually does affect your saturation level, the perceived saturation of a color. I'm just doing a quick shadow around the bottom here with my liner to give Ed kind of a grounding between the bottom of his cloak. But yeah. I have oil paints. I like my water-soluble oils a lot better. If I'm going to be using an oil paint on a miniature. All right. I think we've got the skin tone. I need to get a little bit on the neck, and then we'll be about done. Yeah, but the paint color technology that you're talking about is mostly for water-based quantum. So your lacquers are probably as good as any lacquers made in the meantime. Most of the tech has been going away from solvents to more biodegradable, green, easier to clean up, lower vapor, all that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. When you're trying to switch over and you started with oils, it is more complicated. I mean, that was me because in college, I preferred oils and watercolor to acrylics, for sure, hands down, every day. That's the great irony that then I went really into miniature painting and got really good at acrylics. A little bit of a crease, a smile line around the end of the mouth there, so I went and highlighted that. And I'll probably bring up the skin tones one more level on the face, I think. Although it's really close to his skin tone, actually. But I feel like maybe just a tiny bit more. So I'm going to make one more highlight real quick. I think this violet red made an okay skin tone. Just to show you guys what my final lineup here looks like. So we've got our initial, then our first highlight, second highlight, then I've got this off-white. I'm going to thin down this off-white one, so I don't want it to be potent. I don't want to use it for touches. Boop. Alrighty. Let's just hit a little bit more highlight on the face. Little bit more light. There we go. Trying to fix that eye, but it just doesn't have... The problem is that that eye is much narrower than this one. And it's resisting me fixing it. There we go. All right. Yep, you bet. See you Thursday. Good luck with your appointment, Turgeon. I'm going to bring out those knuckles again on this even higher highlight. There we go. Boom. And I usually also pick up the, because you can't see a fingernail, but there's usually, they're lighter. So usually I'll also hit the end of the fingers to simulate those nails when they're not sculpted. Oh, thanks, Anara. I'm glad you like the sooty eye look. Yeah. It really is, like, when you can't do much else, it really is a good solution. You can see that the eyes have had attention, but they're way too small for pupils. So, yeah, so you can thank David for that. Although I'll still usually do an eyeball where he won't. On a lot of 28ths. But, okay, so yeah, now we've got that expression really coming out, right? The tiny little really light highlights really define the features and bring them out more. I'm going to bring just a little bit more in here. There we go. And I think I need to bring up the light here. Yep. And if it feels like it's just a little bit blocky up there, I'm going to grab some of my next lowest highlight and bring that in. Let's see how that really picks out the face. Yeah, I think he's coming along really well. Thanks, Quindy. There we go. Yep. Sweet. Skin tone's accomplished. All right, so we need to do hair. I need to work on the staff. I need to figure out what color I'm making these inner sleeves. We do have enough room to make them black if we want. Or I can go with the bone. Yeah, I probably want to do some of these gold parts and the leather as well. I think that if this is a snake staff, and it looks like it is, I kind of feel like I want to make the snake head glowing and have the same color in the energy here. And it's either got to be a real cold blue or a green. Any opinions for the spell energy if we do that? If we go green, we're departing from our primary color scheme, 3-color scheme. We could go to the cold blue instead if we want to keep it consistent. Or we can go for the green because it's complementary to red, so it will work even if we're doing it with on top of a yellow, green, blue. Or sorry, a yellow, red, blue. You think the blue? Hello, Paulette. We were just actually about to end the stream. I was just asking for opinions. Thanks, Roger. But yeah, it's all right. Well, we'll sleep on it. We'll think about it. We've got some time because we won't be coming back around to Ed for a little while. Tomorrow we are back around to the front of the rotation and everybody's favorite undead mouse. Let me get these guys all put away here. Yay! So yeah, tomorrow will be Mousy. We're making a lot of really good progress on Mousy. I was starting on some of the. I was doing the hilt of the sword last time with the glow effect, and I think we're gonna. And I did the leather. I think we're gonna start the rest of the leather, or the rest of the metal here. I think that's our next step on Mousy. He's getting there. Once the metal's all in, he's gonna be pretty done. Yeah, thanks, Quantum, for hanging out. And Agent Marvel. Spooky Mouseling, yes, exactly. All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, and I hope that despite this month/week being terrible, for many of us, I hope that it turns around and the best possible outcome emerges for you all. And I'm going to get back to work. All right. Thank you. Actually, I'm going to get back to walking Kiki, which Kiki says is not work, which I say is. All right, everybody. Thanks, Quindy, also for herding the cats. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. All right? Bye-bye.